Fragments of silicon, guaranteed functional in 90% of weather.
Welcome to another installment of Fragments of Silicon. I'm your host, Adam. Joining me, as always, are Petty and Galax. The routine of this show. And anyway, so yeah, this week we're doing another Let's Play installment because, guests canceled out and couldn't find anyone to replace them. But in the meantime, let's get to the news, such as it is. Petty, why don't you start us off?
All right. Well, Monday we took Luna to the vet because she was acting kind of weird, and found out she has hyperthyroidism. So she now has some meds that she's taking, and so far she's been doing really good with them. So that's at least decent. And yeah, basically most of my week up until Monday was worrying about Luna and making sure she was okay.
I'm guessing she's fine now?
Yeah. She was just hopping around earlier, so...
Yeah.
Doing cat things. Acting like she's a freaking kitten again at 12 years old.
Well, I mean, if your cat's meowing, then yeah, that is objectively true.
Oh, yeah, she does that anyway.
Well, wild cats don't meow. That's a...
Not much, yeah. Meowing frequently in adulthood is mostly a strategy cats developed for communicating with humans because we're dumb.
Well, yeah, it's like we don't get most of their other signals, so they kept up with the signal that, got their attention, the attention of mother cats. So, not exactly a learned behavior, but, I think we're getting off track here. Anything else, Petty?
The Digimon Tournament locally is starting to growing. There was like 11 people there on Sunday, so that's nifty. You're finally starting to get tournament kits in. So now, if we win tournaments, we can get boxes and promo packs and potentially regional invites and invites to Worlds when that's happening later, I believe next year. So that's nifty.
Hopefully, assuming things get better by then.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it from me.
All right, you're up, Galax.
Well, I finally got my car inspected yesterday, and of course they found something that they strongly recommended getting repaired, so that ended up being more expensive than I was hoping, because of course it did. I don't know, it's September now. It still feels like it's last April.
So what does that translate in terms of what you're going for here? Is that a weather comment?
No, it's raining now. We're getting, I think over the next couple of days, we're getting spin-off from the one that just punched New Orleans. But no, it's just I have lost the ability to reckon with time.
The fuck is time anyway?
I don't know.
Time is an illusion. Lunchtime doubly so.
Yeah, video games have been going pretty well. I am about to begin approaching the third and least fun of the Goddess Flames in Skyward Sword. Because everything I've heard from anyone about this is that it just is climbing up the fucking mountain like 5 times.
I mean, I don't know, never played Skyward Sword, so
On the plus side, I have the fucking bow finally, and it's silly that they give you the bow and it has a 2-stage upgrade when you get it like 2/3 of the way through the game. MS Saga on Sundays with Mac is still going well. And have started a little bit on the game for a review this week, but I actually have some prior experience with this one, so that's good.
Always helpful.
Not with actually playing it personally, but I've seen it played a couple times, so.
Bunny Hop just put out a review of it. Not watched, but...
Well, the origins of this is a little bit weird.
No doubt.
Get that on Sunday.
Yeah. All right. Anything else?
Not really, I don't think.
All right. So it's my go. Let's see. Jeez. Not much in the way of news this week, quite honestly. Like, you know, nothing erstwhile has changed. Let's see. I suppose a bit of an update from Mac's area of influence, let's say, is that apparently he didn't get the Indiegogo off the ground. Which is less surprising to me than, because, well, the Kickstarter campaign was, really rough.
To put it lightly.
Like, I can't imagine Mac, I know, a amount of people pledged an amount of money, but quite frankly, it really wasn't enough to justify doing even a scaled down campaign. It's like, honestly, but I can't say I'm too surprised. And again, like, Mac has done a few Indiegogo campaigns in recent times, and they all kind of ended up in the same place. Like, and there are probably reasons for that. But, I mean, probably wasn't helped by the fact that, just kind of pushed it out. Yeah. No, seriously, like, he told us, like, a few days before he was going to launch it, which is, always a good sign for your Kickstarter campaigns. Especially one asking for, I suppose, not a huge amount of money in terms of the actual development of the project, but for him, $23,000 was a lot, much more than his previous campaigns. So maybe he'll relaunch it in the future. I don't know. He seems a little drained recently. Like, once again, he's gone through a lot of life stuff recently, and the failure of the Kickstarter probably didn't help.
I doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, I know he wants to revamp Last News Desk, though the direction seems to be a bit unprecise right now. Like,
sounds like a theme.
I mean, it's been a theme with him for pretty much the entirety of how long I've known him.
Yeah, sounds about right.
I mean, Last News Desk, frankly, seems like it's doing well enough, but whatever, he's the one running it.
I think it's more Mac is getting bored with the format.
Almost like you don't have an Orange Madness to laugh at every day.
Well, he gets bored at things easily.
Yeah. It's like, plus, if I had to guess, I think he wants to shift back to MSPR, because he talked about potential plans for a season 3, or a reestablishment of Moonhawk Studios Presents or doing a combination of both.
Which, okay, fine, but that...
I'm probably going to nix that idea. Like, I've been thinking about it.
What I mean by okay, fine is, okay, it's fine that he wants that, but the reason why we stopped doing it is because it wasn't working very much, because we had a hard time getting enough guests.
Yeah. It's also, he pitched the idea of getting guests on the truncated version of Last News Desk, which would be reduced down to 30 minutes.
He was basically talking about turning Last News Desk into shorter Last News Desk plus MSP stuff.
Yeah, I'm like... I am like... Right now, I'm thinking when it comes up again, we might see, okay, like, we've also talked about getting guests for the Last News Desk, but we haven't even attempted that. No.
And I know I have no contacts.
But it's also...
All the contacts I've ever had have been through you guys.
Yeah, yes. But more to the point, it's like, we haven't really figured out who would handle that, which direction to aim for. It's like, I mean, realistically, we'd probably be aiming for fellow political commentators versus actual politicians. Because I'm like, but yeah, it's like, if we want to push in the, conversely, like, any like guest getting is going to be kind of a cluster, a clusterfuck, if you will. Mm-hmm. Because, okay, the way that Mac wants, has proposed it is like, the guests that person's particularly interested, they're the ones that handle that. I'm like, okay. Real talk, I'm the only one here who has any real experience with getting guests.
I mean, Mac allegedly has some, but yeah. Again, a lot of the guest getting things that you guys had seems to have decayed somewhat over the period of not having MSP. So that's part of why the last effort at reviving MSP didn't go so well, was because nobody was still talking to or answering calls all reliably. I don't know.
Well, sort of. I will admit, like, longtime guests like Lewis and Chuck and even Brad, who I wouldn't get these days, because he picked the wrong side. Among other things, like, I heard other monstrous things happened with him, but that's neither here nor there. But it's like, remember, like, when the revival hit, Petty was in charge of booking, not I. And
yes, Petty, with all of his real life and internet contacts with people who actually produce media that people have heard of and care about.
Well, it's like, you get experience by doing it.
I know.
Okay. Because I was the booker for MSP for the majority of its existence, and I have no doubt Mac has connections that he can utilize. But look at what is it? Fucking Up Late with Mace, the revamp Up Late with Mace. Mac saw an opportunity to revive it. He did for about 5 episodes, but yeah. Outside of tapping the connection that I had made with John, and running through that, he had nothing left. Like, it's not just knowing people; it's getting to know people. Like, that's what I had. That's not just what I had to do with MSP. That's what I have to do with this show. Remember, we produce 26 episodes, give or take, a season. That's a lot of bodies to fill. And very occasionally we get episodes like this where, it's been, a guest canceled or a slot could not get filled for whatever reason. and we do the Let's Play thing. But by and large, we have people show up who I'll be on. A lot of them I'm meeting for the first time. When they come on the show, you gotta look for people. That's kind of that's what I was good at. It's not just okay, these people, but you got to find new people, and I worry Mac is not up to that task, to say the and we'd be talking about Kevin and Kira booking their own guests as well. Kevin's never done that kind of thing before, but once again, it's an unknown quantity. There's quite a lot to be worked out with that idea, and it concerns me because I know where things are where it would fucking gravitate, because it's what happened last time on MSP, and it's kind of what happened when Petty tried to take over the booking. I would have to step in and take care of it, all of it. Because Mac didn't want to deal with that side of things, and okay, but then he had problems with the guests I was bringing on because he didn't know anything about them. I'm like, look, you left it to me. I was gonna kind of book towards my sensibilities. That's just kind of a natural thing. And Petty, he had problems in many areas. I think we can admit that at this point in time.
Just a bit.
And Mac was constantly on me about you, so I had to help out as much as I could, while still booking this program. And keep that in mind. I'm usually constantly working on getting people for this show. Like, I'm in talks with about 4 people right now for November, or the October-November area, because 2 of them are daylight interview stuff. And I'm not worried about this particular program because I know that the 3 of us seem to be committed to doing it. Right. And I do want to eventually either get Twilight back or replace him. I like having a 4th person around. But we'll as I said, we'll deal with that next season, because we're still waiting to see how well Twilight's adjusting to his new schedule. All that stuff. But anyway, and I don't think I meant to get this candid with things, but I am concerned that Mac is going to, because Mac told us in that meeting as well that he was considering canceling the whole Last News Desk thing wholesale. He was probably going to spring that on us, by the way. I mean, once again, wasn't surprising given his mood and mindset. But like he's doing this with other people. You kind of have to let us into that conversation. That being said, thankfully he's not taking such a thought process to any sort of revamping. I guess at the end of the day, it's like, I really do think we would have to pick one show or the other. And personally, I think we might want to try season 3 of Last News Desk with guests and don't reduce the time slot, because, who's going to want to talk for 10 minutes about things?
Yeah, I guess that's worth a shot.
I'm just saying, like, before we move back to the MSP stuff, we should at least get a sense of what political booking is. And especially since, like, the worst kind of idea is, trying to get guests for MSP, R, and fucking Last News Desk. So that's like double the work right there. There's just a lot. There's just a lot of issues in that regard that I don't think we're ready to tackle. Especially since we, by our own admission, don't really have an idea of what we want to do in regards to the political show. In terms of guests, I do think that's a thing we should nail down should we proceed on that. Anyway, now that the sounding board is off, we should probably move. We should probably move over to the Let's Play.
Indeed.
Anyway, so we are still playing. We are still Let's Playing 80 Days.
And we have just arrived in San Francisco after a very long trip across the Pacific involving the failed mutiny and also we're 5 days overdue already, so
yeah. I mean, unless we find a time machine, clearly we're not arriving in 80 days.
And that's more of an H.G. Wells thing.
I know.
So I guess the thing is, where are we going?
All right, since there's no Morlocks around, to probably
anywhere east, really.
Yeah.
This is America. It's fairly crossable. I think rail is fairly reliable.
So I guess we can go east, Salt Lake, Cheyenne, Omaha, Burlington.
None of those southern routes are convenient, are they?
It doesn't
Not
look
that
like it.
Not that I'm recommending them, but
all right, so I guess we're going to fucking Cheyenne.
Okay, and we could stop there and see if there are any further paths from Burlington, because that might be faster than.
God. So how's Final Fantasy 14
Speculative
stuff go?
oysters.
What?
Speculative oysters?
That's what the text says.
Yeah, I know. I'm just okay.
We are crossing the Rocky Mountains, so I hope it wasn't that kind. Probably be solicitous so as to maybe get better in his graces, because if I recall correctly, he was rather disappointed at how the attempted mutiny went.
Yeah.
And deteriorated slightly. Rip.
Oh.
I feel like some sort of train noise would be appropriate, but nobody do that.
I mean,
I was
could.
going to say, don't say that if you don't want me to. Poland's palace, sleeper cars, and while not palatial.
Yeah, palatial.
They were at least serviceable.
I guess attended to ensure fog.
Yeah.
Either that or scouring the view closely.
Our relationship has strengthened slightly. He's now less likely to kill us. I mean, wait, what?
I think that's the other way around, given how things have worked out. A nod of greeting. I don't think a wide smile would be very in character.
Why isn't it safe?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, especially since we might be heading there.
Mm-hmm. So, telling your tales of our adventures probably is not advisable.
Okay. What tall tale of bullshit is this? Oh God! Did the South win? Oh God! Did the South win the war?
I don't think the war is over.
Like, and why are there draft riots in Europe? I have questions now. Like,
Remember, this is a weird
know.
steampunk alternate history.
I know, but what is that history then? Yeah, because now we've got very, very concerning history.
Uh-huh.
Because of course, when you're dealing with alternate histories, what if the fucking Confederacy won, or some such
I don't
thing?
think the Confederacies have won, and I think actually in history, New York was one of the ones that was a little bit more hesitant to strongly pick sides, but I'm not sure.
New York had not necessarily Confederate sympathies, but they had resentment towards the draft.
Yeah.
Like that's okay. That's the real world thing that this is building on here, because the biggest draft riots in history happened in 1863, if I'm remembering correctly. Might be off on the year there, but if you've ever seen the film Gangs in New York, it dramatizes that event in its third act.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, let's see. I guess where else can one go to but New York? Which
Yeah, that might give us other routes.
Oh man, New Orleans. We jumped off the train.
Yeah, I would stay on. Seeing as how this is probably the fastest and safest route most of the way across the continent.
Yeah.
Yeah, apparently Burlington to New York is not available on the first playthrough, possibly. So
yeah. So thank God we didn't meet any Mormons.
Oh God.
well, I mean, you can't be sure.
Mm.
They look just like us.
The short sleeve shirts usually a giveaway, and if they ever talk about going on a mission.
I nodded at him companionably.
Sure.
What's the worst that can happen? Oh God, my kidney. Oh. Sorry, wrong button.
Mm. How am I a puzzle?
I guess flummoxed.
Yeah.
Yeah. It seemed a probing question. That would be my. I'm just saying what my vote is anyway. You're free to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have input on this one, so
He was merely interested.
sure, why not? So, yeah, this is our first time in America. Or I'm sorry, America.
No, it's not America yet. This barely even America.
Fair.
Oh yes.
Oh yes, sir.
Never do that again.
I will agree with you on that one.
Your character is now polished.
I think that went back up after it had gone down a little bit.
Mm. Yep. You're now
Yeah,
in.
we probably should have actually gone straight through the Burlington, but we can get off here. I think we can go to New Orleans from here. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, we disembarked.
or at least to somewhere.
Throw fog from the train. I guess we'll try the explore thing. New routes
Yeah.
found. A route we already had.
We found a route that was already known. Good job, us.
Which we rather enjoyed, since I don't think that it would have been for us. And also, we're behind schedule, so.
I mean, it kind of doesn't matter at this point.
It is supplied with decent tea.
I'm sure Mr. Fogg wouldn't be thrilled with that.
Yeah, I'm like, not sure what our stance on tea would really be, since we're French.
Also, somewhat of a psychopath, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, I mean that's not really relevant to beverage drinking.
Or is it? Dun dun dun.
Anyway, decent tea.
Alrighty. So we can either Cheyenne to Dallas to Houston, or well, I guess we can go to Dallas to New Orleans.
Cheyenne to Dallas and then Dallas to New Orleans, probably.
Alright.
Mm-hmm.
Because New Orleans, A, is a port if we want to go by ocean, and B, has a land route back up to the New England area.
Alright. So we go sleep.
I mean, the wager's dead.
Yeah.
Right, that's what he means, another nail in the coffin.
I mean, the coffin's buried. It doesn't matter. Like, it's not getting any more alive.
So we either attend to Monsieur Fogg, help in
What
the kitchen,
Why the fuck would we help in the kitchen?
so we can get another knife to stab a man? I don't know.
I suppose we could talk to the hotelier.
Yeah, I think that's a better idea.
They might have information.
Information, yes.
Oh, you can buy Cuban cigars in Havana, apparently.
So you can buy Cuban cigars in Cuba.
Where's Ponta Delgada?
Alrighty. Embark.
Portugal. So that would be like you could. That's a plausible. If you went that way, that would be a plausible.
Yeah.
Oh,
way
God.
Which I distrusted on sight.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of us coming through on that one.
Yep. Yep. Okay.
I'm just looking through these because sometimes they can open up new routes
Right.
that it's taken a while.
No, we don't really want to go south.
Yeah.
New Orleans, Atlanta.
New Orleans to Atlanta sounds good.
Probably.
Washington is entirely the wrong direction, unless they mean Washington D.C. They probably they mean Washington D.C.
Yeah, they're not talking about Washington State. They would refer to Seattle.
Washington to Miami is the wrong way.
Wait,
Vegas
what's
is
that? What's that to Ponta Delgada?
Washington to Ponta Delgada.
Washington to Ponta Delgada or Washington to Dakar would be useful.
Yeah, we
Let's go
would
to
want to go to
Dakar.
Puerto Delgada, I think.
Okay, that will be a good route to get back to Europe without going to New York and getting wrapped up in gang warfare.
So I guess attend to master, eavesdrop, or watch the scenery.
Let
I
us
wonder what kind of
eavesdrop.
scenery there is here.
Yeah,
Oh,
that.
you want to eavesdrop?
Yeah.
All right.
Hoo boy.
That was not very useful.
I mean, that's a possible route.
Fair.
I think we might have New Orleans to Panama.
Let's look at the market. Oh, we can sell
Yeah,
the
I
pistol.
do think we have some stuff that'll sell well here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is worth $2,000.
Yeah,
And we want to sell the pistol.
yeah. I don't think it has any other practical
Okay, I don't
purpose.
think we want to get a false passport.
Jack Passenger.
We want to go to Atlanta, right?
We want
Yes.
to go to either Atlanta or New Orleans, so that would be useful.
Alrighty.
It would be a quick turnaround anyway, and it's not expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the stuff that says it's part of a set, if you have the whole set, what that does is it opens up possibilities for negotiation on departure times and stuff.
Mm.
Let's see, what can we plan?
Oh, I actually hit explore.
Which I did my best to ignore.
Just like Monsieur Fog. Wait, what?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, yes, the war is over.
Not wrong. Like, well, motherfucker, you've been going through like Cheyenne and Dallas, which I don't think was, certainly in the thing that it is today.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean,
I'm curious about the Freedmen's Town.
all right.
And though now the passersby met my eye,
Yeah. We might end up stabbing a man, though. I'm going around the world.
Mm-hmm.
This one might. I'm spending time away from my master might not go over well.
yeah.
I finished my beer. Now, the bar owner is lucky that we do not have stabbing implements right now.
I mean, stab him with the glass? So we want to go to New Orleans.
Mm.
And then Atlanta, Washington, take a nice boat ride.
Unless you want to risk the Cuban Airlines.
No. So yeah, I think we're probably gonna go to New Orleans next.
Yeah. And we'll probably wrap things up at Atlanta.
Oh hey. We can bump it up to tomorrow because of our wardrobe. How convenient.
Mm-hmm.
This was totally not planned at all.
I guess.
Oh no. Oh no.
Let us not. Yeah.
Though I walked away, I looked away quickly.
Probably a good idea.
Oh, you sweet, sweet summer child. Nolans.
Yeah.
I guess it would
Let
be
it.
interesting to look into that more, but we're already significantly behind the schedule. So,
Also, I don't feel like being caught up with the KKK.
well, I don't imagine it's pro that, but yes.
Anyway, we are moving in the direction opposite of that, so.
I don't know. Nolans is
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean,
still a city with racial tensions, shall we say?
well, I know that. I'm just saying that particular instance that we were possibly a party to.
Alright, so
I wonder if watching the scenery go by is actually just a skip or what.
it might be.
Let us find out.
Yeah. Alright, let me sell the belt. Oh yeah, that's nice. I mean, if we ever wanted to go to New York, we could get a nice chunk of change for the trombone.
I mean, I'm not sure if it's possible to go to New York.
It is.
Yeah. Plan.
But we're planning on leaving before we get there.
Yeah.
So, no point.
Yeah.
Yeah, so to Washington.
Yep. But we can do that next time.
Yep. We'll wrap it up.
Oh man,
here.
we should totally go to Winnipeg.
Oh, that's it. Back to Winnipeg. Anyway, so Petty, when you get into position, play us to the next segment.
Alrighty.
Mm-hmm. All right, so welcome to the topic of discussion. This week we are talking about Metroid Fusion, mainly because the second full trailer for Metroid Dread dropped last week, if I'm remembering correctly.
Something like that.
Recently, yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, it was interesting, like because Kraid returned
somehow.
Well, like there's
it
actually
could be a Kraid clone. It could be they took a long time resurrecting him on this far off planet.
Okay,
this kind of implies some space pirate presence, though.
The speculation right now is Kraid as a species, which would actually make sense because remember fake/mini Kraid. No. And like the other big drop was apparently the Chozo are not extinct. And
they were on the way there, but that doesn't mean that they were necessarily already there.
Right. Well, we've got a Chozo warrior walking around, and
or at least someone else in a fucking bird suit.
Right now it's speculated that this is a Chozo warrior. Or no, I think no. Nintendo had a file briefing alongside that said it's a Chozo warrior. Like this is the first time that we're meeting a Chozo alive in the Metroid series. You know, because if you remember, like Metroid Prime, we met Chozo ghosts and fought them.
I thought there was one in Zero Mission, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, Chozo Ghosts were in, or Chozo Spirits were in Zero Mission.
I don't think it was it was either a spirit or some kind of weird hologram thing that you had to fight to get the fully powered suit.
But the connection to Metroid Fusion was, I think, missed by a lot of people, like, at least initially, because it's not Samus who's getting attacked.
I know. I think they've said that is Samus.
Well, something's going on there, because at the end of the trailer, that is fucking SAX. It's the same dead-eyed fucking stare and everything. That is SAX.
That's possible.
Like, I saw a picture of SAX and that Samus. It's SAX. I would bet money on it being SAX. Because if the goddamn X Parasite's back, SAS is back. I would put money on that. And that brings us to Metroid Fusion here, because this is where the X Parasite and SAS got their day in the limelight. And is indeed the previous most current telling of the Metroid, the mainline Metroid tale, such as it is. You know, people want to complicate this. It's not that complicated. Metroid Fusion's called Metroid 4. Metroid Dread is being called Metroid 5. She
still has the same ship and computer, which is why Adam is still there.
Yes. Yeah. So anything else you can see as non-canonical, spin-off, or just not that fucking important.
Yeah, the Prime series is a pretty long series, but it's still all basically ends before Metroid 2.
Yeah. Well,
it's like, it's good background on, okay, why they decided they need to kill all of the Metroids.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Prime has gotten fuzzier as it went along, because, yeah, Prime 1 definitely established that it takes place in between Metroid 1 and Metroid 2. But that got a lot... Right, but what I'm saying is the links got a lot less explicit after Metroid Prime 1. Probably because they wanted to do other things. Because, also keep in mind, the whole Metroid subplot was a subplot at best in the Metroid Prime series. In fact...
aside from the titular character.
Well...
which was still kind of a side plot.
Yeah. And this was the first bit of the Metroid franchise to try and move past the Metroids, because they wrote themselves into a corner. Let's be honest here. You know, it's like, you can tell that they didn't intend to, you know, have this many Metroid games.
Oh, yeah.
Because why else would you fucking off the literal name of the franchise? You know.
Well, and then they say Dread is supposed to be the end of the saga of Samus and the Metroids.
Right, whatever that means, because also apparently Metroid Dread, we are not, like, I'm assuming that is dealing with the fact that Samus is part Metroid now. Samus is part lot of the things now. But because the Metroids are apparently supposed to be well and truly dead in Dread. We'll see how well that holds up, because
there's no guarantee the Federation doesn't still have some data stored somewhere.
Or more Metroid clones somewhere.
Yeah,
well,
it's like
data that they could use to clone more Metroids is what I meant.
Yeah, because keep in mind, in Metroid Fusion, guess what? You encountered, well, a Metroid. You know,
there were more.
Yeah, yes, but like the last boss is an Omega Metroid.
Yeah, it's just there was at least one of each stage of evolved Metroid, plus a bunch of tiny larvas in the restricted area that got blown up really early or not really early, but well before the final boss.
because it turns out giving the Galactic Federation a highly weaponizable organism was a bad idea.
Who
Because
would have thought?
not Samus. She's the one who said, "Yeah, hey, let's take the last known living Metroid into captivity and give it over to the, to the science people for science, betterment of mankind." Noble intentions, but we all know how sci-fi tales go, don't we?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the Galactic Federation bioengineering Metroids for the purposes of weaponization was the least surprising twist. And yeah, basically right at the same goal as I'd say as the Space Pirates, but really more the Metroid Prime version of the Space Pirates. Maybe it's because we got a lot more insight into the culture of the Space Pirates versus.
Well, that's the thing. Hasn't been that much lore in the core series until Fusion and then Zero Mission and
Right.
Samus Returns has some.
But
Most of the lore in the series has been in actually in the games, as opposed to manga or supplemental stuff, has been in the Prime series and in Other M.
Right. And yeah, I don't even know what the status of Other M is. I'm not even sure Nintendo knows.
Other M is just Other M.
I assume it's something to the effect of the broad strokes of this are fairly something like that happened, but maybe not all of the specifics, at least. I don't know.
Possible.
I don't think they would canonize the entire thing unless they had a very specific reason to.
It's possible. It's also like the producer Sakamoto. He's not the biggest fan of Metroid Prime series, so that's kind of why it's often semi-canon land. Granted, the Prime series made that easy by just kind of going down its own path. Because that became much more about it's the Metroid Prime trilogy is also known as the Phazon trilogy because that became much more about the Phazon of Talon 4 than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Fusion goes, yeah, it's like this actually explored a logical conclusion that was left with Metroid 2. Metroid 2, okay, the Metroids are highly dangerous creatures. Destroy all the Metroids to keep them out of the hands of the Space Pirates again. Now, I'm not sure if the whole Chozo bioengineered the Metroid to fight the X. I want to say that happened here.
That's from the manga. That is, as far as we know, still canon, I believe.
Okay, because I didn't think that was mentioned in the game itself, but anyway, the Metroid are the predators of the X parasites, and the X it turns out what's the thing worse than the Metroids? This X parasite, apparently, because it can take over organisms and shapeshift into them and take all their powers, which is why SAX was, at least in theory, a neat kind of survival horror villain. They were kind of going for fucking Pyramid Head or Nemesis with SAX. It's like, the thing is, I don't think Metroid Fusion ever had the color palette to really pull that off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because Metroid Fusion came out in 2002. Hi, very bright color palettes and washed out visuals to deal with that fucking non-backlit screen.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly, the the nocturnal area was not as dark as it would be suggested it should be.
Yeah, I think there are some
I think
like
they still did a pretty good job with the sound design and the
Yeah.
highlighting of light when there is darkness, but
Yeah. But I'm just saying that Metroid Fusion was just a tad too garish to pull off the same kind of atmosphere that Super Metroid did. It's like, it's unfortunate, but the Metroid Fusion game was working within the constraints of the GBA. Because keep in mind, this game was coming out in 2002. 2002 is generally a pretty terrible time for 2D works. At least if you're talking about consoles, like this may be like the lowest point, the sixth generation. I'm not saying that 2D was completely dead on consoles, just mostly dead. Like, just if you were doing a 2D project, you were probably doing it on the handheld, specifically like the GBA. I suppose this in turn, this may have been the apex of pixel sprite work, because, or certainly its last grand stand, because the DS going forward, it's kind of become a lost art.
The DS still had some good pixel art on it, but yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And the GBA, again, you're fighting against screen resolution, but they still did a lot of good work with it.
Right. Point of the matter is, if it wasn't a 3D game and there was already a 3D game coming out, literally the same day, Metroid Fusion and Metroid Prime came out on the exact same day, at least officially. I'll be honest, I actually played Metroid Fusion a month early. How was that obtained? Well, it's like the forum I frequented actually got their hands on a leaked copy of the game. And how it got leaked was due to a game reviewer. They ripped the game and put it out on the internet, which apparently caused a lot of things to happen going forward from that.
Nintendo was not pleased.
No, like one of their big handheld, sure, but tent poles getting like a month early, by the way, did not sit well with him. This is where reviewers got introduced to what I've heard described as the locking mechanism of doom. Yeah, it's like GBA games and even DS games. Not sure if they did that with 3DS, because by the time we got to the reviewing scene, 3DS digital existed. But the point is, the actual carts were logged into the machines. And apparently it's also, your reviewer progress could be logged in for all to see and mock and shame you for. This is apparently a thing that actually happened.
Yeah, I'd believe it.
Anyway, yeah. So, basic story here is Metroid Fusion. It's Samus versus the X-Parasite. Samus is attacked by the X-Parasites and left for dead.
Yeah, they send her back to SR388, and she and the soldiers she's escorting or whatever, they find a Hornode and she shoots it, and then after it's dead, a little bit of orange goop comes out and flies into her, and that's bad.
Yeah. This is how the SAX gets created. And it's one of the myriad of explanations of why Samus gets depowered. Because apparently people got concerned about that for some goddamn reason. I'm like...
I mean, the games have various degrees of it making sense. Currently, I think between the games, the biggest issue is that she loses the gravity suit every time, which I guess, since now in Zero Mission, with the full powered suit, and, well, actually, I guess in that game she lost the Varia module too, but anyway. And in Samus Returns, she loses her suit upgrades, which I guess you could probably excuse as something to the effect of the modules degrading or something. I don't know.
Though I would say the dumbest one is Other M, but that's beside the point.
Yeah.
Well, that was like when they decided to try to give you an another M. It's just no, turn those off because
I will never agree with Naka on that point. We had heated arguments about it back when he was on the show.
The only
Like-
one of those I agree with is the power bombs. Everything else is
Yeah.
dumb.
the power bombs make sense. Turning off the Varia suit doesn't make sense.
Yeah, even Naka
Power
was,
bombs are pocket nukes. Remember, it makes sense to not use those excessively.
Especially on the
Yeah.
space
Maybe
station.
also super missiles.
and really, yeah, and tying into Other M, this is the first appearance of Adam Malkovich. And this is also the establishment of her time at the fucking Galactic Federation. A lot of
Some
her,
of that was apparently in the manga also, but yeah.
I'm like, but this is putting in the games. There's a difference.
And of
Like-
course, this isn't actually Adam, except that it is. It turns out at the very end, kind of. But
Yeah, it's actually his like consciousness.
it's a computer that reminds her of him.
and
then it turns out
it
it's because they scanned his brain and made it into a computer.
and guess what? He's still fucking around. He's going to be in Metroid Dread.
Yes, but this time he should hopefully not be locking off like most of the play area at any given time.
I fucking groaned when I heard, Adam mentioned in the fucking Metroid Dread playthrough. I'm like,
I mean, he's
not-
part of the ship.
I know, but that doesn't mean I have to like him. I've never liked him. I've not here, not in Metroid Prime, Metroid Other M, or Metroid Fusion. I'm of the contingent that fucking hated his ordering ass from the beginning, because the question about Metroid Fusion here is not so much is it a good game? Of course it's a good game. Is it a good Metroid game? And on balance, no. And it's not the linearity, because Metroid 2 is linear as fuck. But nobody had a problem with that game. And that's because Metroid Fusion here introduced the commanding officer. Metroid 2, you're still on your own. You still got to figure out what to do and shit like that. Like you're still exploring because you don't have a map. Maybe I don't know if that's changed all that much in Samus Returns. Never played that one. But the problem with Metroid
Samus
Fusion,
Returns, you're mostly getting orders from the fucking unspoken orders from the big statues that you have to plug all the Metroid DNA into before you can go further.
and not the biggest fan of that. But Adam the computer acts like Adam Malkovich, and fucking gives you orders and he tells you where to go and highlights that on the map. That's kind of against the spirit of a Metroidvania.
See, I don't mind that. I don't mind being told where the next major objective is. The problem is that in Fusion,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much every significant deviation from that is locked off until
Yeah.
literally about 10 minutes before the end of the game if you go straight through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because, a difference between Metroid 2 and Metroid Fusion is this is on much more powerful hardware. I mean,
the comparison to the Adam thing is in Zero Mission, you find the Chozo statues that tell you where your next main thing is, but it doesn't stop you from going other places.
And another problem with Metroid Fusion is it's really hard to sequence break.
It's basically impossible for most of the game, and that's intended. I mean, Super Metroid was not intended to be as able to be sequence broken as it is.
And then
No,
lo and
but-
behold, we broke it over our knee.
And also, this is the beginning of Nintendo's just losing their shit over the concept of sequence breaking and speedrunning. Because
They pulled back super hard after this because Zero Mission has
no,
a lot
they
of
didn't. They fucking doubled down. And I will tell you what, Metroid Prime, the initial US version had much more in the way of sequence breaking than Nintendo literally went in and removed for the European and Japanese release.
And I believe the Wii re-release, I believe.
Yes. And that's why the original version of Metroid Prime still holds a price, because you can actually speedrun in that. Like, don't know why Nintendo just flipped their shit at this, but they said, sequence breaking? Nah, we can't fucking have that. Like,
Zero Mission, they built in a lot of potential ways to sequence break, though.
Right. They calmed down by that point. I'm not saying it lasted
that much later.
Right. It wasn't super long, but it was long enough to have an effect. Like, and anyway, outside of that, Metroid Fusion is working with less buttons than the Super NES. So it had to do like the weapon select thing. Also got rid of like the dedicated run button, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah, running is automatic in I think every game after Super Metroid.
Right.
Which means there's no way to not do the speed booster after a little bit. I think ultimately they mostly did a pretty good job with it. They put tilt up and down on one shoulder instead of one on each shoulder. So like it tilts up by default, but you can tap down and it'll tilt down.
Mm-hmm.
They removed most of the optional firing modes. It's just either your gun or your missiles.
Yeah.
Zero Mission had super missiles in it. I forget how they did that.
Yeah. So I suppose special mention should be commended to Metroid Fusion in actually remembering the lore of Metroids. Specifically, larval Metroids, they are vulnerable to ice. So Samus can't really carry an ice beam until the end when she like fuses with SAX, and I guess she has X DNA in her. Fuck's sakes.
I don't know. For the last boss, she gets to use the ice beam.
Yeah.
And then it's just the ice beam as a damage dealing missile when Omega Metroids are not actually super vulnerable to cold even. But yeah. Honestly, putting the freeze functionality, and Dread has ice missiles still. Rather than an ice beam. And frankly, putting the freeze functionality on an alternate fire mode instead of your main fire is something they also did in Samus Returns, and is generally a good idea because it gives you a gun that doesn't take 2 shots to kill every fucking enemy in the game minimum.
Or you have to go into the menu to turn off the freeze function.
Right, because one to freeze them and one to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, the ice beam is usually somewhat more powerful than the basic beam, but that only comes into play against stronger enemies than ones that just take 1 shot.
Yeah. Like, I think ice missiles are the big contribution to Samus's arsenal here. Like,
ice missiles, the diffusion missiles were also pretty cool, getting an upgrade that makes your missiles explode in a larger area.
I think that was another one of my disappointments with Fusion. A lot of the roster is from previous Metroid games.
And the diffusion missile is functionally just a charged shot, but with missiles.
Yeah.
Like I said, in Zero Mission, super missiles is a separate thing. In this game, you get super missiles, but they're the same. They're just, your missiles are now super.
Right. They got rid of a bit of redundancy.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you just you have shot, charged shot, missile, eventually charged missile, and bomb, and I think you are in morph ball form and you switch to the missile fire mode basically to do power bombs once you get those.
Uh-huh.
And obviously later in the game you get the screw attack and the space jump and are significantly forced to use them immediately, and it sucks because the first time I played it, after I beat the fucking spider boss, I couldn't fucking get out because I couldn't get the space jump to work right.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I
But yeah,
guess
the biggest issue is that after you basically after you beat X Ridley,
Mhm.
the next time you go to a navigation room, and there are navigation rooms at the entrance to the central station from each area, plus a couple other ones, you basically get pseudo locked into the end game. And actually, if it's one of the ones that's the entrance to an area, you get completely locked in. At this point, you have the screw attack, so you can use the secret passages that you get to go around. But if you don't know those are there, you can very easily just go into the thing and be railroaded into endgame. Of course, you can load your completed save file and go back and explore with an item tracker and stuff. So that's probably somewhat intended. But for people who want to put off going to endgame and actually explore a little bit, they really make you have to work for it. And there's a fairly small window in which you can actually travel freely between the 6 areas before the end game.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of bosses, I guess like the biggest addition to, I guess this is outside of like SAX, the biggest addition to Samus's Rogues Gallery is Nightmare. In that
they actually use Nightmare in
Other
Other
M.
M, because a giant fucking goo monster in cybernetic armor that has control over gravity and stuff is a pretty cool enemy idea.
Mm-hmm. And who may yet return in Metroid Dread. If you, once again, we don't know the status of Other M, but if Other M is in canonization, keep in mind Nightmare survived, though that could be presumably to have it in Fusion. Who knows at this fucking point? Yeah. Also returning was Arrakis.
Arrakis, yeah, who is now ironically one of the Metroid bosses that is in the most games behind Ridley, and like tied with I think Mother Brain and
something like that.
Something, because he's in 3 games now.
Mm.
But yeah, he originally was in Metroid 2, and you fought him in the weapon research facility area.
Yeah,
he's
the only non-Metroid boss in Metroid 2.
Yeah, and he gives you I forget if it's the spring ball or something in Metroid 2.
It's the spring ball, if I'm remembering correctly.
And then in Fusion, he's who you beat to get the it's not the morph ball, is it?
I think it was, or whatever the first item was. Like, he's the first boss you fight.
Yeah. Yeah, it might actually be morph ball. Yeah, because there weren't all of the. I was thinking because you have to kind of crawl through some ducts to end up in his boss chamber.
Right.
But I think those were all full height until after you beat him.
Anyway, yeah, and another frustration in modern times is, in order to revisit Metroid Fusion, along with, Zero Mission, and I guess Samus Returns is in this boat as well, is you have to access older hardware. yeah, Nintendo's kind of missing an opportunity here because, yeah,
Unless they then do a release of like a Metroid combination pack or something at some point. But ideally, you'd think they would have done that before.
I mean, Nintendo's never been the smartest when it comes to these kinds of things. Like, they got Metroid and Super Metroid on the Nintendo Switch Online, but if you want to, dig into Metroid Fusion, you got to buy a Wii U because, it's on the eShop up there, not on the Switch eShop. Like, even though you got a highly anticipated game coming up here. And, like, I get why you're not releasing, say, Advance War 1 and 2 original version, because you're trying to sell a goddamn remake.
Mm-hmm.
It's the reason why Link's Awakening wasn't ported to... Link to the Past wasn't ported to the GameCube with the Legend of Zelda Legacy Collection.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was on the GBA, and they were they wanted you to buy the GBA version, not get it in a fucking Legacy pack, even if you were. That was like ostensibly for only new GameCube owners, but I saw that on sale. Like, never picked it up because I heard about the botch job of Majora's Mask. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
I have opinions on the Majora's Mask remake about certain changes that other people don't like, but we can go into that later.
Yeah, we should probably wrap this up since it's nearing the time of the launching of our other show. So, with that in mind, this will about do it for another installment of the Fragments of Silicon. No Friday show this week. And let me see. Let me just get to the right page here. Right. So on the Sunday reviews, we'll be having reviews of Kursnaga. I'm assuming that's how that's pronounced. These are nonsense things that have been mashed together in some configuration of, alleged words. They're not actual words. I'm not even sure what Kursnaga is supposed to mean in context with the game.
I think it's an Indian thing, isn't it?
Maybe. I don't know. Like, if this is a real thing, I don't know. Like, okay? Like, it looks...
I don't know, and I'm not sure how it's spelled in this game anyway, so...
Well, it's Kurrsnaga. Yeah, like, so I'm just going with Kursnaga here. It's a first-person melee game. First-person brawler, maybe, I guess is the term.
Well, that'll be interesting because that's not a perspective you get with a primary melee focus very often, and I think there's usually a reason for that.
Yeah, okay. My experience is it's a better game than I thought, but it's still not very good. More on that on Sunday. Petty will be reviewing Super Sammy Roll. Galax is on the Forgotten City. And we'll also be having a review of Quake. Like, no code given here, but it's the latest Night Dive remaster, and we tend to cover those things. In terms of a game, well, it's Quake. It's only like one of the greatest first-person shooters ever created. But how does the modern port handle? Mostly fine, but I've got some problems with it. But more on that on Sunday. Anyway, a new episode of Last News Desk on the Left is going to be starting presumably in 10 minutes. It's probably going to be 20. But until then, I shall wish you good gaming.